This is Capsule on liveandlimbo.com. My name is Sean Chen.
And I'm Andreas Babilakis. This is an adventure into pop culture, music, film, and the like.
We got some great news to talk about today. We have no interviews today, but we have a lot of cool, interesting music and pop culture related news. What do you have for us, Andreas?
Well, first of all, for those who asked about last week's podcast, we did record one, but thanks to Rogers, we had a lot of technical issues, so it sounded very robotic and not in the good way.
Yeah, it kept cutting out.
Not in the good way like Daft Punk or anything, but it was bad. It kept cutting out, so we decided not to put it up yet. So instead, because some of the stuff we talked about is a bit dated, but some of it isn't, we'll talk a little bit about things that we covered before, perhaps in greater detail, and some new interesting things. So there you have it. First off, let's reiterate back on something that happened before. It's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Nirvana finally being inducted in their first year of eligibility. And for the most part, we had a well-acclaimed set. And it was interesting because it's still being talked about. And it's because to fill the position of Kurt Cobain for this reunion...
Which is very hard to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's very hard to do. We had 4 women, and only women, that filled in the position. And for the most part, everybody thinks they did a good job. You'll have the odd person that disagreed. I'll get into that in a second. But I think it's fascinating because at first nobody knew why. But Sean, you know why they did this, right?
Because women are amazing and equality rules.
Yes, but there was actually a release that came out a few days afterwards from, I think it was Dave Grohl that sent it, that Kurt Cobain was a huge fan of female artists, and he actually said that women singers and musicians are the way of the future. So I think it's a perfect fit. Now, they actually wanted Polly Jean Harvey, better known, I guess, as PJ Harvey.
Yeah.
Yep. Who, if you're not familiar with PJ Harvey's music, listen to that like as soon as this podcast finishes. She's one of the best of our generation. Absolutely phenomenal musician. And one of Kurt Cobain's biggest inspirations, especially her album Rid of Me. But sadly, she couldn't make it, but we still had some very great performers. We had...
How do you not make it? That's weird.
I guess she was busy. Maybe she's coming up with a new album because it's been 3 years since Let England Shake, which Let England Shake, it's only been 3 years old, but I would honestly consider it one of the best albums of all time. Honestly.
Is that your favorite PJ Harvey album?
I would say so, yes, actually.
Mine's Story from the City.
Oh,
Stories from the Sea.
That's right up there as well. That's a very close second. That's also a phenomenal album. And to give a bit of insight before we continue, Let England Shake is a very folky, bluesy kind of album with a lot of folk instruments, and her voice is a lot higher pitched. Stories of the Sea is a lot more city-like. It's a lot heavier, but it's not as heavy as her old stuff. It's like radio rock, but done with a very dreamy kind of way. It's fantastic. It's just the way that she could dive into so many genres like punk and grunge and soft rock and folk rock and piano ballads. Just, she's phenomenally eclectic. You should definitely give her a shot. But sadly, she did not make it. But instead, we had 4 performers
Yes.
Oh, yeah. We'll get into that, though. We'll go in order and why they were picked according to Dave Grohl. I don't know word for word why, but I know the reasons why. The first one he picked was Joan Jett, which covered Smells Like Teen Spirit, which they picked because she broke ground for female performers in the rock industry.
See, she makes sense. She makes sense. Total sense, Joan Jett.
Well, everybody to me makes sense, but I'll get into that in a second. Hers was a very straight up cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit. It sounded pretty much exactly like the record, except, well, it was her singing. And for those who didn't watch it, obviously there was Kirst on bass, Dave Grohl was on drums, and Pat Smear, who was with the band during the live performances of In Utero, was on guitar, as well as most of the musicians, except for the next one, and I guess the final one. But the next one was the bass player of Sonic Youth, Kim Gordon. And she was picked because she resembled like the female identity of the punk and underground scene. And she did a very different version of Aneurysm, which hasn't met... It's been very polarized. Some people think it's fantastic because she made it her own. Some people weren't a fan of it at all. because a lot of it's very noisy. But if you don't know Sonic Youth, that's basically Sonic Youth. That's what they're like. I thought it was good. I thought it was great to see that kind of experimentation. I think it's something that Kurt would have wanted, and but that's been the most divided one. The third one, which now we get into Sean and my fanaticisms. The third one,
Both of our girls were represented.
oh yeah, the third one, which I'm guessing this is where PJ Harvey was supposed to fall in, but couldn't, because this is a musician that Kirst didn't even know about, but now he says he claims to be her biggest fan. I don't know about that. I exist. But the third one was actually Saint Vincent, or Annie Clark, and she performed
Lithium, right?
Yeah, she performed Lithium, and it was great because her voice is very soft and it fit with the lower parts of the song. But then I've never heard her do like a rock vocal before, and I think she did really well. She did a great job.
Can I just say something quickly about Saint Vincent? You know, like when she changed her look for this new album that she had.
Yeah.
Initially, she looked like a ghost because it was like the new platinum hair and like the pale skin and then the eye makeup, and it was like very perfect, so it looked like a ghost. But in the recent few live photos I've seen of her, she got a little more gritty with it, and she looks totally hot now.
It fits perfectly with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame performance.
Do you know what I'm saying though? Like you can see a
absolutely.
slight difference in how she did. Like she has the same style, but it's like more gritty right now.
Yeah, the hair's a bit messier. You can see the roots coming out. It's
awesome.
like when you first get dreads and then you keep them growing and they kind of get messier if you don't keep them well. It's kind of like that she has right now, but it fit perfectly with the performance. I liked the facial expressions she gave the audience, like when she says, I'm so ugly, but that's okay, so are you. Like she would like wink at an audience member. I thought that was hilarious. But that's typical Annie Clark though. And I like the fact that because she is a very theatrical performer, she didn't make it about herself. She still performed in honor of Kurt Cobain, as did well, I guess Kim Gordon went kind of crazy, but that was the focus of the performance. I guess, which is why it's polarizing. But yeah, Saint Vincent actually is, I think, the performance that most people agreed was like a fantastic tribute. And the second highest, I believe, was the next one, which is your girlfriend. It's Lorde, who performed All Apologies with all of the aforementioned female musicians as backing bass player, guitar player, backing vocals, and all of that. But Lorde took the stage and St. Vincent was picked because she's somebody who's breaking genres. That's why. And Lorde was picked because she's seen as the future of music, which I guess if people from Nirvana say that, that's a pretty big deal.
Oh yeah, no, I think they kind of chose people that represented different generations.
Yeah,
if you look at it like that.
They did a spectacular job doing that, actually. I think it went really well. But then what we talked about last week, which I think it's fitting to talk about this week, is you mentioned when the first article came out, like the day afterwards.
The Rolling Stone one?
Yeah, there's a lot of criticism.
Oh, yeah. I did not expect to see so much. Yeah, so I'll link to the Rolling Stone article in the show notes. But after I read through the article, it was a great article, actually. And they have clips, YouTube clips there from the show. All handheld, of course. No one knew this was going to happen.
Yep.
And then in the comments section, there's like 300 comments, and like half of them are nasty stuff. I didn't expect people to hate Nirvana and Kurt Cobain this much.
Yeah, they're not even directed towards the actual female musicians, which is the weird thing, because that's a bone like a lot of people had until Nirvana made the release statement saying, oh yeah, this is why we picked female artists, and then people understood. It's directed towards Nirvana themselves. And what I said was because, well, I guess it's obvious with the fact that Kurt Cobain considered female musicians the future of music, this and that Nirvana were always privy to trying to break a lot of ground. And the thing is, what I said last week, when a musician or an artist of any sort tries to break ground with something that's happened before, like they didn't invent the genre or the innovation per se, but they try to expand on it and make it easier for the masses, and that's why they explode.
Well, that's why people hated them, or in this case, because they said that Nirvana is not rock. they don't belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That makes absolutely no sense. I mean, I've heard people complain about, Public Enemy or Beastie Boys or LL Cool J. Whenever rappers or even pop musicians like Madonna get eligible or even inducted, a lot of people will lose their minds. And even then, you could find a very logical reason for this because you could find a lot of rock influence in, well, Public Enemy, for instance, and even Madonna. Where they break out into these different genres with rock star mentalities and rock star writing. And, you know, it's come to a point where rock isn't just rock music anymore. It's not even just about the attitude because that's a bit different, but it's about the innovations that rock has had. And what is the point of getting upset when you should be proud that this genre that you're so devoted to is expanding and affecting other genres? That's what I say. But the fact that people don't consider Nirvana rock is a bit silly. But
I think the whole idea of just like we keep continue like even with award shows, we continually and constantly keep trying to categorize bands. But I think like
yeah,
right now, they did it before in their time, but right now it's happening again with EDM and like electronic music and rock. This fusion is happening now, and I don't know why people hate it. And the same thing happened to Linkin Park too back in the day. I know people that hated them because they tried to do this rap metal fusion thing and rock. I like. I think that's. I think there's a point where yes, there needs to be some development in each one, but then there's another time when they need to fuse together and you get some cool, new, creative, fresh vibes.
well, I personally think that rap metal, I guess, there's a lot of terrible musicians in that genre, but well, not musicians per se, like they could be talented, but the actual music itself is pretty bad. But well, that's a personal opinion, of course. Anyways, the point is to hate a genre as a whole is a bit silly because there will always be a good and a bad. Um, Take for instance Rage Against the Machine. I think that they do what they do fantastically well, and well, that's redundant. Sorry. What they do is fantastic, and um, like I said, there's always going to be good and there's always going to be bad. And the reason why I think a lot of people don't like this is because people, A, they don't like change, and B, they don't like change from things that have already existed. Last week we talked about actually your idol, Steve Jobs, who perhaps didn't invent so many things that he's known for, but he knew how to market things. And because he's a great business person, a lot of people would almost like figuratively spit on his grave because they're saying, oh, he wasn't that great of a person. He's actually an asshole, this and that. And regardless of what kind of a person he was, he still did some very large things when it came to the computing world, whether he actually invented or helped invent these creations or not. He still made them easier for the masses to actually take hold of. Like for the tablet, for instance, when Windows tried to release their tablet back in 2002, it was too early. People saw it as a smaller computer and nobody wanted that. When the iPhone came out, or just smartphones came out, and Steve Jobs came out with the iPad, yes, they didn't invent the tablet, but they made it easier. They made it sleeker. They made it, they made it more obtainable, except for, I guess, price-wise, but that's different. And instead of being a smaller computer, it was a larger phone.
Yeah.
So that.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up this because I'll link to this amazing article that I read this week, and they were just trying to, I guess, clarify what the difference between inventing and innovating is.
Yeah.
So as you said, inventing would just be an engineer making something. So like whatever Microsoft or whoever made a tablet before. But the innovation is when you're able to take something and actually change the industry as a whole. And Apple was able to do that. So that was innovation. They were able to take something and dramatically shake an industry. That is innovation.
Yep. And that's exactly what Nirvana did because, of course, they weren't the first to do what they were doing. I mean, Alice in Chains came before them, the Melvins came before them. And here's the thing about Nirvana. Like I said, Kurt Cobain was a very big fan of PJ Harvey. He would talk about his influences all of the time. He actually had lists. Like if you go on Wikipedia and you'll find a random album, it might say it's on Kurt Cobain's list of best albums of all time. Like that's all he ever talked about. And the biggest influence was Pixies, and he would publicly say, "We wrote Smells Like Teen Spirit when we were trying to copy the Pixies. We tried to emulate that sound of them being very quiet and then being very loud, which for our generation, we don't understand it as well because we're used to it. But back then, you didn't do that before. And Pixies did this kind of sound before, and Doolittle with songs like Tame and Gouge Away, where the vocals would be very soft, the music would be very quiet, and then it would just explode with screaming and just very angry sounding guitars. And that's a lot of Nirvana in a nutshell. And of course, Kurt Cobain was very open about his influences. He would openly say he loves Breeders, he loves PJ Harvey, he loves Iggy and the Stooges, all of these bands, and that's a big problem because first of all, a lot of people hate the fact that grunge came before Nirvana, right? And secondly, a lot of people hate the fact that, well, apparently hair metal or extreme metal from the 80s died when grunge came out because it turned heavier music into a more accessible genre. So you'll find a lot of people who are very sour about Nirvana, but I think it's unfortunate because they are legitimately a good band. Like they're one of the few bands from like our generation or just slightly before our generation, like not from the 60s or anything, that are legitimately as rated as they should be. Like they're not overrated or underrated.
Yeah, I totally agree. And they deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I tip my hat to them.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that they got solely female musicians. There was actually a set list, which kind of bums me out because I thought it was like the entire set list. I thought this was like a legitimately full-size concert because I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. I'll try and find an image and we can link it in the description. But apparently each artist was given a few songs.
Oh, wow. And so I guess who was the guy that said no? Why would he ruin such a thing?
I think, well, first of all, time constraints. And secondly, I think it was just a possibility of songs that they picked and then they decided which ones would flow better together, right? Yeah. Instead of just all going heavy, they'll try and create something that's a little bit more fluid, you know what I mean? So, oh man, when I saw that Joan Jett had chosen or was picked to do Territorial Pissings, oh my God, I wish I could see that because that's one of my favorite Nirvana songs. It's a fantastic song. And she would have done that amazingly well because she's that very high energy, very throaty and raspy kind of voice, which is perfect for that song. And it's very Joan Jett like anyways, that song, because it's short, it's very similar power chords, but it's so edgy sounding and it's so catchy sounding, which when I was a huge fan of Joan Jett and the Blackhearts back in the day, that's what I loved about them. And the interesting thing about Joan Jett actually is she's not solely, but she's primarily a cover musician. So I think she would have pulled that off extremely well. But sadly, no, that wasn't there. And a lot of other songs that were on that list, I can't remember which musicians were for which, but there was About a Girl. I think St. Vincent was for About a Girl, which would have been interesting because, again, she's very good at like the soft voice and the soft guitar tones. There was also Scentless Apprentice, which I think is personally my favorite Nirvana song, which would have been fantastic, but it wasn't on there. So,
well, I guess they just got the 4 big ones that they could, and they had 4 artists. So
it's weird because Aneurysm it's an interesting choice actually because it's not even like one of their biggest songs.
No, but
I'm down for that.
Yeah, and so yeah, let's wrap that section up, and we have some other news. Today is what special day?
Let's talk about Nirvana week again.
Yeah.
But no, today is Record Store Day.
Well, when you listen to this, it will probably be over. But today is a day to remember. It's Record Store Day. And what releases are there today, or what specials are there?
I've actually got to find this. But while I'm trying to find this, there's something interesting that's happening today. Jack White, who I assume is trying his damn hardest to end up in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as well, is somebody who's known for trying to set world records.
He'll get there. I think he'll get there.
Oh, yeah. He's somebody who's known for trying to set world records. When he was with White Stripes, with Meg White, they actually tried to set the record for the shortest concert ever. But apparently not Rolling Stone. Wow. I can't separate from that talk we just had. Guinness Book of World Records didn't want to recognize this as a legitimate concert, and that annoyed Jack White. And ever since then, I can't remember what records he's tried to set off the top of my head, but he's tried a few times to try and set world records. Now he's trying for it again. Record Store Day today, Jack White, as a solo musician, I guess as a promotion of his new album that's coming out, is going to is going to perform a song in person today, run straight to a studio, get it pressed and mixed on a vinyl album, and or like on vinyl albums per se,
And then sell it
and
today.
sell it in the very same day. He wants to set the record for the fastest recorded and released album in history.
Well, is that a whole album or one song? You said song.
It's a song. It's a release. It's when I say album, I mean like a vinyl album.
Oh my god, they're not going to count that. That'll be hilarious. They'll be like, no, one song does not count.
No, it's a
But
release.
I know, but they'll find some excuse to piss him off again. How short was that concert that he did, and what was their criteria for what is a concert?
Oh, I don't know what the criteria was, but basically him and Meg White just did like a single note. Like she smashed on the cymbals and he did like one note, I think, and then they left. And they didn't even announce it was going to be the shortest concert, so everybody was so highly annoyed. They're
Oh
like,
man,
"What
that
the?"
would have sucked.
They're like, "What the hell? We paid for a full concert and they just left."
Oh, that was a paid one too?
Yeah, of
Oh
course.
my god.
They just did it as a surprise, and they're like, "What the hell?" And I guess the way they saw it, it was like, I thought you would like this. This would be special. You're a part of a world record," which I guess wasn't recognized as a world record.
Maybe they
So,
wouldn't have been so pissed if it actually was a record.
maybe,
They could have been part of history there.
yeah. Well, maybe not because
It
you
didn't
know,
count.
White Stripes were huge when they were big, and they're still even huge now. Like I hear them on the radio all the time, and you know, to go to their concert and just have nothing, like a
Have
one
you
note.
seen them live before?
I have not, and I'm guessing I won't because they're
I've
not a band.
seen yeah, I haven't seen them live like the White Stripes, but I've seen the Dead Weather live and they were awesome.
Oh
He's
yeah,
the drummer there. Yeah.
that must have been crazy. I want to see one of his bands live because he's got a lot. So
Because he gets Alison Mosshart from The Kills to do the vocals on that for the Dead Weather.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. I like that one music video where him and her are just like running towards each other, just like ready to have a scrap. What
Like
song is
where they
that?
shoot at each other?
Yeah, what song is
Oh
that?
my god, I know what you're talking about.
Oh, that's a really cool music video,
I
actually.
want to see that again. I forgot the name of it.
Well, while we try and remember that, here are some. I've got the list in front of me now. There's too many to go through, but
For
I'll
the
try and.
record store day thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll try and go through some pretty big ones. Basically, if you don't know what record store days deals are, it's kind of like what Jack White's doing, except for the whole record setting thing. It's not necessarily large, full releases of albums. It's just very secret kind of rarities that'll be released because it's for vinyl collectors. So you'll get like a lot of singles or live albums or just like artistic kind of releases, and you'll see some in a second. So first of all, one release we have is the Allman Brothers, which are pretty big. Selections from one of their live concerts in 1992, for instance. That's the kind of thing you're going to find on Record Store Day, as well as David Bowie's 1984 picture disc, which I don't really know what that is, a picture disc, but
Ooh, the Flaming Lips have one.
the Flaming Lips always have something.
And Sky Ferreira, she's on it too.
Yep.
I'm looking
Husker
at the
Du's on
list.
it. Wow, that's pretty crazy. I haven't heard from them in a while.
LCD Sound System, that's cool.
Well, what do they have? They're not
It's-
even a band
It
anymore.
says The Long Goodbye live
Uh,
at Madison Square Garden.
oh, that's sad. Is that the same thing as
It's
Shut Up and
sad?
Play Hits, or
Did you say it's sad?
yeah?
Oh, why is it sad?
Because they're done.
Oh, I thought you said it's sad that they have this.
No, God, no. I would love to see LCD Sound System live.
Hey, actually, Nirvana's on it too.
Yep. I'm guessing.
Pennyroyal T.
Yeah, I'm guessing this is because they're issuing a reissue of wow. They're releasing a reissue of In Utero. So I'm guessing because Penny Royalty has a song off it. And I Hate Myself and Want to Die. That's a song off it too, isn't it? Oh no,
Ooh.
that was a song that was supposed to be on it. Ah, it is a reissue. They're prepping up for it.
Ooh, Veruca Salt.
Oh, I haven't heard of them in a while.
Oh yeah.
All these 90s artists.
Yeah, that's weird. You would think some modern bands. I guess this is just like the top picks from Spin that I'm looking at.
I'm looking at like the full entire list. Slipknot's releasing Volume 3, the subliminal verses on vinyl. So the kind of full lengths you'll see are albums that aren't on vinyl already. So Wow.
Do
Okay.
you even own a record player?
No, I want to though.
Yeah.
Interesting story actually. I went to go. This is going to be very
You go
sidetracked.
out there and you buy all of these things from like 10 different stores, and you come home and you're like, oh crap, I have nothing to play it on.
No, no, no. I actually got interested in buying a turntable, so I went to the store on Queen Street. This is going to be lame, but like, just casual talk makes podcasts. I went to the street on or to the store on Queen,
Which one?
and I can't remember the name. And if I say it, it's gonna be bad. You'll see why.
Oh, okay.
I went in and I just wanted to ask about a turntable, and this really attractive girl actually like tried to help me out, and I was like, okay, cool, this and that. Yeah, interesting. So we talked a little bit about music. I asked her where I can get some like graphic T-shirts because the one on Queen Street closed. She said go to the black market, which I went, and there wasn't anything really for me. Even though if you're into thrifty clothes, you should go there. It's not for me though. Um, Nonetheless, I was talking to this girl and I left, and I was like, damn, I should have tried to get her number. And
This is
now
terrible.
the problem that I have is that I still don't have a turntable, and I have no reason to go back there except for that.
And you
So
have no girl, so it's like you lost everything there.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was
Well,
terrible.
I guess I'm gonna have to go back, perhaps for record store day, and be like, "Hey, I still don't have a turntable, but I just wanted to see if you have any releases."
That's
None,
hilarious.
Nonetheless, I want to get a turntable because the moment that I decided I want to get a turntable, this is gonna show more of my character, I guess. When I say I listen to everything, I listen to pretty much everything. The moment I wanted to get a turntable was when I wanted to order an album by the Ronettes on eBay, and there wasn't a single compact disc version of it ever.
Really? Wow.
Absolutely not,
What
and it
about now? There's
sucks.
like no digital version?
No, I don't want digital though, because I want the album so I can get like a better quality. Even though like vinyl would be the most ideal quality, right? But I don't have a turntable, so I can't. But at that moment, that's when I decided I want to hear this like not on my computer. I want to hear this like in my car or something, or even at home. I guess because you can't listen to vinyl in the car. You're very committed to making it
Turntable
work.
in the car. Yeah.
Some people probably do have that, but
The shock protection won't be that great.
yeah. Yeah, so it's because I wanted to listen to girl groups like the Ronettes and the Crystals and the Tammys and all of that that I wanted to get a vinyl player. And I've been looking into one ever since. They're just kind of pricey, but I'm guessing it's well worth it if you're a music aficionado then.
Yeah, but it's not just the turntable. You need speakers too, like good
Yep.
speakers. I don't even know what are some good brands.
Well, the good thing is the turntables I have now, which that girl was telling me about actually,
What was it?
was um, they have ones that you can plug into your computer. So you can rip the vinyl quality, convert it into files on your computer, which are going to be rather large because it's vinyl. They still won't be 100% because it's still digital, but it'll be like the best digital quality you can
I
get.
still think digital's better. Like we've gotten to a point where 320 kilobyte per second audio thing is great, especially when now they make it from digital first.
Well, you'll have people, I guess, on 4chan and whatnot that are hugely into music, like in the music section on 4chan, that are very particulate with
I
their
know,
music.
I know. We'll get an audio expert in. We'll get Aga Bahari back in, and
No, but
he's an audio engineer, and we can debate this.
no, for sure, no. But what I'm saying is, like, you'll have people that actually agree with you
Oh,
that
yay, I know.
the reason why there are such good digital files now is because, well, they're ripping from vinyl, or they're fixating on making it the best, so that it's not MP3 or MP4, right?
Or
That
no,
it's
like when
better.
the musicians, like their tools now, they're all digital. So going from digital to digital makes sense. Before, when
Yeah.
you're trying to rip it from vinyl, it's going from analog to digital, and that won't be as great.
Right, no, for sure. And yeah, so who knows, maybe in the future, like it will be pretty much the best method of music out there because I mean, who would assume vinyl? Vinyl came from way back when. That was like the first release of music that we can get. And now it's seen as like the best. Like, well, it's like black and white photos. You understand that. Like black and white photos looking fantastic because of the ways you can get the contrast and everything, right?
But I wouldn't consider black and white photos to be the best.
Oh yeah?
No. Even now, I'm like, as a photographer, I don't do that many black and whites. I like color. I love color. Like, that's why we have color in the world.
I guess, but I don't know. I really like when I watch movies, like sometimes when people say, "Oh, I wish Casablanca was in color." I don't. I sometimes if
No,
it
well, if
works, it
it's made
works.
like that, then it should stay like that.
No, for sure. I don't know. Or if it's made intentionally like that, like I guess Schindler's List, which could have easily been in color, but no, it's I don't know. I don't know. Looking at more record store release, we just talked. We had an interview with the Strumbrellas, and they mentioned the Darcys, which are an up like a band that's slowly making their way, and they have a record store release actually, "Hymn for a Missing Girl." So I guess there we go.
You
There's
should check that out too. But I think Kat is already downtown and she's been to like 5 stores and I think they're sold out of most things already.
are they going to say the Darcy is like wow okay well no because record store release day is 1 day a year so you're
Yeah.
going to have lineups for this.
It's similar if you're not familiar with it. It's similar to Comic Book Day, which happens every year, and then but Comic Book Day you get everything for free.
For
So that's
free.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like last year I got The Walking Dead, Superman, and a whole bunch of other Marvels. They just lay them all out. I go to Heroes World, and then you just get what you want.
That's terrible because wouldn't there be like fighting for stuff and
Yeah,
like
there was.
ripping other
There was.
comics?
Yeah, there was.
That's terrible. Why would you do that?
I don't know. To promote comic books.
That sucks.
They should
Well
at least make it like $1 and donate it to charity or something.
that's the thing, or do they at least have somebody supervising?
Yeah, someone's there. They're like, you can only take one of each. But then
Well
there's
that's
like
good, but
50,000 nerds.
if there's stuff like ripping and being creased and stuff, right?
Yeah. But,
It's terrible.
oh well, what are you going to do?
Sadly, I'm not too heavily into comics. I was when I was younger, but
I
I
just
guess
go
you could
for the free
only.
stuff.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess you could only be into so many things at once. I mean, I've got movies, I've got music, I've got shows, I've got a few books. It's tough to balance everything, and I don't know. One comic I'm heavily into is Deadpool. I think Deadpool is amazing.
Did you ever see that Deadpool Gangnam Style video?
No, but I can imagine if there's any parody video of that annoying song that's actually pretty funny, it would be Deadpool.
Yes. That's great. I'll probably link it in the show notes,
Yes,
unfortunately.
actually, I would like to see that.
Resurrect the Gangnam Style movement. I'm sorry I brought that back up just when you thought it was totally gone. I brought it
Oppa
back up.
Gangnam Style. No. Oh,
Also, what's special is that I forgot that 2 days ago. Well, not forget. I guess I didn't see it as a super, super big deal, but I guess it is after some people told me.
oh yes.
Live in Limbo 2 days ago turned 5 years old.
Yay!
It's kind of
Congratulations.
amazing. Like, I started it off as a blog, and you can even if you go in the bottom right hand corner with the archive, it goes all the way back to 2009, and it looked really crappy. Well, the layout will be what it is now, but you can see like the articles that I wrote were pretty crappy. The photos were okay. I was just getting the hang of things then, and it was very bloggy. Like it actually looked like a crappy blog back then. And over the years, with the help of so many amazing people like Randall, yourself,
Thank you.
Dakota, Sarah now, and Katrina, and like a whole bunch of other people along the way. It's like one of the best independent music websites in Toronto now, and it's amazing. We do music, concerts, album reviews,
Red
sports,
carpets.
yeah, red carpets, film. Film we're like heavily expanding on now, thanks to you and Dakota. Gaming, and I said sports already, and yeah, and this podcast.
Yeah, there we go.
Amazing, 5 years.
Where we get to talk to people like the Strumbrellas, and we've talked to USS and Bedouin Soundclash. It's good
Amazing.
stuff.
Yeah, and we hope to go another 5 years and further and beyond.
Hopefully. And we've got some exciting stuff coming up. I mean, we've also got an interview which should be up hopefully within the week of ex-ambassadors and Parade of Lights, which actually went really well. Both bands are really, really nice.
I think Parades of Light sounds like Foster the People, kind of.
A little
like
bit.
a new version of it.
When I talked to them, when they were listing their influences, they mentioned My Lady Valentine, which I was a big fan of. U2, bands like that. They're very stadium sounding, which I guess Foster the People are as well. So
Yeah, so look out for those 2 video interviews that will be up on our YouTube sometime this week or maybe early even next week.
We'll try our best.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. But they'll be here, and we're just finalizing our schedule for Canadian Music Week.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
That's going to be great. There's so many great bands. Well, I think there's like over 100, and we're pretty much covering every day of the event. So
Yep.
and then after that is North by
Northeast.
Northeast. So
Oh,
two big back-to-back festivals in Toronto. And
Let's-
you're looking forward to M.I.A. for CMW.
oh yes. Actually, yeah, let's talk a little bit about these two. First of all, is anybody covering Tegan and Sarah and Ellie Goulding at CMW?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we've got that.
Yeah, no. The way we have it now is you and Sarah are gonna do City and Color at the ACC, and then
Yep.
Dakota and I will do Tegan and Sarah. Yeah, it's hard to. Yeah, we need to get to as many of these big shows and showcases as possible. So that's how we split it up.
Yeah, it's tough because
Ideally, I would like to be at both, but you cannot be at both.
yeah, on the same day at the exact same time, there's a metal show. It's Mastodon with Gojira and Kefaltrik. I think that's how you pronounce that.
Why do they do that?
No, that's one show.
Yeah.
Which I've seen Mastodon twice. I've actually met Mastodon. They were fantastic. I've never seen Gojira. I would love to see them live. And Kefaltrik, or if that's how you pronounce them.
How fast can you run from one venue to another? I don't
No,
know.
it's impossible because at literally the exact same time, Television are playing. And if you don't know who Television are, that's fine because they're not too well known. But their album Marquee Moon, one of the best in history, by far. One of the best. And it's not just me saying that. It's critics across the board, Rolling Stone, Time Magazine, Pitchfork.
Television has their own show, though.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's the one I'm
That's a
reviewing.
different day. Yeah, exactly.
That's the one I'm reviewing, which is unfortunate because I would love to see Mastodon live again.
Oh.
I would love to see Gojira live, but Television.
Since you've seen those already, then might as well go to Television.
Well, I've only seen
Yeah.
Mastodon.
Sarah will be shooting that show too, so both of you are teaming up again.
Oh, for Television?
Yes.
Cool. Television. If you haven't heard Marquee Moon, basically it's proto punk, which is it's not really, but it's somewhat punk mixed with progressive music. So you'll have like very aggressive vocals, kind of like the Clash or Johnny Rotten from the Sex Pistols, mixed with intricate guitar playing and just like really edgy sound. And their album Marquee Moon, which is considered one of the best debut albums of all time. Really great album. If you're interested in aggressive or ugly sounding music that's actually really well done, Marquee Moon is where it's at. It's got some amazing guitar playing. And it's acclaimed by many critics from any publication. And yeah, so the problem is they're in their 60s now. Like they've had a lot of releases that I've not been fond of. It's just that one release I'm huge on. But to get a chance to see Television live, that's a very rare opportunity. So I guess I'm gonna have to do that and miss out on Mastodon.
Is this their only show?
I believe so.
Oh wow! But are they doing other shows like North
like a
America?
tour?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think they might just in Toronto, or I'm not sure. They might be. Who knows? But
Yeah. So we'll do a plug for Canadian Music Week, of course, since that's coming
Yes.
up. That will be, of course, May 6 to 10. However, you can get your tickets for that for sure on cmw.net. But don't forget the special M.I.A. show, which is actually 3 days before that on Saturday, May 3rd. It's free at Young
Free.
Dundas Square. Wow, free. Holy crap. That's going to be an amazing show.
that will be, especially with her new album Matangi, which I thought was fantastic. Her controversy with the Super Bowl problem she did where she flipped the bird on live television and she's getting sued for millions for that. I think it's going to be a very aggressive, very upbeat show.
Everyone's going to be packed around there since it's free. And I don't even know what
yeah.
time it starts yet, but we'll find out.
It's going to be packed
So-
with people with a lot of energy because, again, it's free. They didn't have to pay for this. It's going to be outside. She's going to be full of,
Hopefully
if
the
you've
weather is amazing.
oh, yeah, for sure. If you've heard her music on Matangi, it's very raw. It's going to be a very energetic show. It's going to be great. But then there's also North by Northeast, which we're going to be covering, which I actually want to talk a little bit about because I can't remember too many artists that are on there because I'm fixated on one. that's performing. I'm going to be covering St. Vincent from that, so that'll be cool. I actually get to see her live, and we're actually going to try and get interviews and stuff with her, hopefully.
Yeah.
So,
I don't
um,
know if you know this, but like she's playing this random show out in London, Ontario on the Thursday before North by Northeast, and maybe it's due to some geographic restrictions that she signed to while because she's doing North by Northeast, but she's
mhm.
playing this one random show in London. So if you think that you probably won't get a good spot for North by Northeast, you may be interested in checking her out in London the day before.
Which would be great. I'm going to try and go to both actually.
Yeah, might as well. That's like going to be super intimate there.
Yeah, because I want to see an intimate show with her, and I also want to see her in like a big setting for once because
And the venue
um,
for NXNE is still to be determined, so who knows?
yeah, that's scary. I hope it's a good venue. You said it might be Cool House.
It might be Cool House, but yeah, who knows? Sarah Ricks drove to her show in Buffalo, and that was in a church. That must have been amazing.
Oh man, I would have loved to have seen that. It's like when Bjork performed in a church for Vespertine.
Oh wow, that must have been awesome. I saw Bjork at V Fest in 2007. She was amazing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh 2007. So that was mostly like Volta then,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, Volta.
Well, that's not my
Just seeing her,
favorite.
and I got the chance to photograph her. That's great.
That is great actually. Well, she is one of my favorite musicians of all time. So that, oh man,
She shot out these string like confetti things like from her hands, and then it landed on all the photographers, including myself. And
oh yeah,
it got
because
on
it's
my
Volta.
lens. I was like, oh my god, what the hell's going
I
on?
remember seeing her while I'm looking up the NXNE lineup. For that era, she was very colorful. I wish I got to see her for Biophilia. I wish I did because she had some really crazy stuff on that tour, like uh songs played by a Tesla coil, which it's been done before, but still to see it live would have been crazy. Melodies played by these large pendulums, which were pulled by the gravitational pull of the Earth. Some really crazy stuff that
We'll save that for another podcast.
yeah. But now NXNE, here are some bands that are playing Spoon, which are really big. St. Vincent, Juicy J, Sleigh Bells, that should be good. Danny Brown, ooh, I want to see Danny Brown. That would be awesome. Spiritualized, Tune Yards. This is a pretty decent lineup so far.
Oh yeah, I like it. Both
Mac
of them,
DeMarco.
CMW and NXE are really gonna bring it. I'm glad
Oh,
that they have them here.
oh my God, this is
What?
gonna be amazing.
What?
Swans are at NXNE.
Are you serious? I didn't even know that.
Run
No.
the Jewels are at NXNE.
I guess you're gonna be there.
Fuck Buttons are at NXNE. Sorry, that's the name of the band. You
There's
can't
nothing
blame
he
me.
can do about that.
There's nothing I can do about that. Again, forgive my language. Perfect Pussy are at
No,
NXNE.
that's fine to say too. Hey,
I
actually,
guess.
when we covered their show for South by Southwest, I was looking up Perfect Pussy, and make sure
Oh,
you type band in there
yeah.
when you Google them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you still get some decent photos, but you know what I mean.
Luckily, One Tricks Boy Never, you don't have to do that with because that's not an inappropriate tag, I guess. But there's some really, really good artists. Sorry, I'm just discovering this for the first time now because I've been too busy to look this up.
Well, we haven't
So,
even started to look at the NXNE stuff yet, so
well,
CMW first.
I'm gonna try
Yeah,
and
research.
get. Oh yeah, I'm gonna try and get as many of these as I can. Problem is, it's gonna be the same thing as CMW, where a lot of these I won't be able to look at
They're
because they're all at
overlapping.
once. Yeah. Oh, if Swans actually. Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
how about this? Suppose Swans played the same time as St. Vincent. Who would you see?
Here's the thing.
You would,
This is what I just realized because
yeah.
I don't think that'll happen. Because St. Vincent actually provides backing vocals on their new album To Be Kind.
Oh,
So
do you
I'm
think?
guessing they might even have her on stage.
Oh my god.
That would be really cool.
But would you be able to take a risk on that? Like, suppose they're performing at the same time. You would
Oh,
hate your life so
man.
much.
Here's the thing. If they're performing at the same time, I would see St. Vincent because this is the end of her tour.
Yeah.
Swans, I could see coming back again because their album would have just dropped in May, To Be Kind, which leaked and is streaming online now. So that's why I've heard it. It's fantastic, fantastic album. Um, I think the stream's taken down actually.
Are you
Maybe.
gonna review that one when it officially comes out?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Nice.
It's great because well, it's a 2 hour album, which is really long.
Yeah.
I actually talked about this with Jay Malinowski. I tried to recommend Swans to him. I
I wonder if he listened or probably not.
who knows? He said he would. He's like, oh, I'll give you guys a review, let you know what I think of Swans. I'm really big on Swans as well. They're from well, it's mostly a project by Michael Gira. Because the lineup's rotated ever since. So he's been like the sole member. He's kind of like think of it as Trent Reznor, I guess, but less about his individuality and more about like just the people that he brings on board with him, right? Um, he's it's like Saint or not Saint Vincent. Who was it that I brought up before that? Oh, PJ Harvey. Like PJ Harvey, he's very eclectic with the kind of genres that he'll dive into. Like his Swan's first album back in '83, I think. Filth is one of the heaviest albums I've ever heard of any genre. Like it is disgustingly heavy, and
In a
then
good way or bad way?
oh, in a great way. I think
Oh,
it's
okay.
fantastic. And
So
then they'll have
disgusting.
oh yeah, like it's such an angry, repulsive kind of album. But that's what Swans are for the most part. But I'll get into that in a second. Swans will create these very unnerving sounds and music that's not for everybody, but for those who are big music fans, they'll find something to like from here. Like think of it as Gaspar Noé, who's like the director who did Enter the Void and Irreversible, who does disgusting films that have something that you can truly admire from them, which is bizarre because you don't want to, but then you can't help it. Like it'll stick in your head for days, even if you find it repulsive. And that's Swans. Swans will do that too. Um, their album, their album before this one, this year, actually got huge praise because they broke up in the '90s and then they came back with I think it's called "My Father Would Guide Me with a Rope to the Sky." But then that was it was a pretty good comeback album. But then this year came out, which is a 2 hour, really really abrasive album. And Time Magazine said it was one of the best of the year. Pitchfork did as well. I think Rolling Stone loved it as well. And this year has this one song. Their single, which was "Mother of the World," it's 9 minutes long, which is not it's not unusual for them. I'll get into that in a second. It's not unusual for them. The first 5 minutes of it is literally the exact same guitar tone, like two notes the entire time.
While they're singing or no?
He's not singing.
Oh,
He's
it's just
his
two tones the whole
vocals.
time?
Well, instruments will come in, like drums will come in, and then like the bass will come in. But like literally from him, it's just two notes, like then it for
For
like five
five? Oh my
minutes,
god, that's kind of annoying.
and his voice is just him breathing, like on each part. Like I'm surprised he didn't faint.
And that's
The
your
amount of times
favorite
he cried.
song?
It's not my favorite song. It's the first time I heard it, I
It's
was like,
experimental for
oh
sure.
yeah, they're experimental. But like the first time I heard that song, I said, oh my god, I like Swans, but what is this? I adore that song now. I think it is amazing. Once you get to the part where it changes and it gets intense,
I guess they're trying to build the mood for that 5 minutes.
it is, and it's amazing. But here's the thing: that like nine minutes is nothing. Their title song this year is almost 40 minutes,
Oh my god.
and it
It's like
starts
a
off.
movie.
It's yeah. Well, that's the thing about Swans. They're very cinematic about the way that they build up this noise. The beginning of the sphere is like a few minutes of just bagpipe noise, like a huge wall of cacophony. It's oh, but then it starts with like this drum beat that'll cascade into like this rolling Godspeed You Black Emperor kind of mood. It's oh, it's just fantastic. Now, to be kind, their newest album is very bizarre because it's also 2 hours, but it's not as cinematic. In fact, it sounds like if you combine something like Frank Zappa with Sonic Youth. Like it's very noisy and it's very kind of bluesy, funky, experimental. It is so bizarre, and I would love to see that live, actually. And here,
You will soon.
I hope so. Well, if
Yeah.
they play at the same time as St. Vincent and
No,
they
I
have
don't
the
think they'd
stage,
make that mistake.
I hope not
I hope
because
not.
that'd be terrible because they're both really big with our scene, I guess.
Exactly.
And Swans apparently have one of the loudest sets of any band out there right now.
And
So
so yeah, NXNE is June 13 to 22. They
yeah,
have the whole music, film, and interactive comedy art thing all at the same time. But we'll be mainly there for the music, of course.
Yep.
Where can our listeners find you?
After all of my indulgences, I don't know if they want to listen to me anymore, but
They won't have to listen to you. They'll just read your tweets.
oh my God, Swans at St. Vincent. That's all I talk about ever. They could find me at Andreas Babs.
That you should end every tweet that you do from now until then was hashtag swans. That'd be
And
funny.
hashtag St. Vincent.
Yeah, that'd be funny. It's like you're talking about
I just
something
made
total. Like I just drank orange juice.
I just made
Hashtag
pierogies. Swans.
That's great. And you can find myself on Twitter at Sean Chin. You can follow the show at Live in Limbo and use the hashtag Capsule Podcast, hashtag Swans, to join in on the conversation. And please subscribe to this show on iTunes. And you can always find our show notes at liveinlimbo.com/capsule. Take care.
Have a good one. I'm actually going to get Sean to put Mother of the World in the link so you can listen to that as well.